The lipstick stain. The crisp white collar, starched as always, mocked her. Sarah ran a thumb across the smudge, a defiant crimson stain blooming against the pristine fabric. It wasn't her shade. Sarah favored muted roses, soft peaches, nothing this bold. A knot tightened in her stomach, cold and unwelcome. He'd been home late again last night, buried in spreadsheets, muttering about deadlines and demanding clients. She'd brought him a plate of reheated pasta, the aroma of garlic and basil filling the air, but he barely looked up, his eyes glued to the laptop screen. Now this. She remembered their wedding day, the sun dappling through the stained glass windows of the chapel, the way David's hand had fit perfectly in hers as they exchanged vows. Had that been a lie? She pictured their first apartment, crammed with mismatched furniture and overflowing with shared laughter. They'd painted the walls a vibrant yellow, a testament to their optimistic future. Had that optimism faded, leaving only this residue? Sarah inhaled sharply, pushing the unwelcome thoughts aside. David was stressed. The firm was pushing him to the brink. He'd mentioned a new associate, fresh out of law school, clinging to him like a vine. Maybe it was an accidental brush, a harmless encounter misinterpreted by her own insecurities. She closed her eyes, the image of the lipstick stain seared onto the back of her eyelids. Later, while folding laundry, the scent of lavender softener a weak counterpoint to the acrid smell of anxiety, she replayed their conversation from the previous evening. He'd been distant, preoccupied. Had he been avoiding her gaze? She couldn't be sure. Maybe she was projecting, seeing shadows where there was only exhaustion. He'd been working tirelessly to provide for them, to give Lily the life she deserved. She remembered Lily's delighted squeal when David surprised her with a pony ride at the local fair. That memory, so pure and filled with joy, momentarily eclipsed the crimson stain. Sarah smoothed the wrinkle from one of Lily's tiny dresses. He was a good father. He loved Lily. And she loved him. Didn't she? The lipstick stain remained, a silent accusation hanging in the air, refusing to be dismissed. It was a tiny thing, easily explained away, yet it had planted a seed of doubt, a prickly vine wrapping itself around her heart. And she knew, with a chilling certainty, that she wouldn't be able to simply ignore it. The questions would keep coming, whispering in the dark until she found answers. Anonymous revelation. The insistent buzz of her phone vibrated against the granite countertop, a jarring intrusion into the quiet hum of the dishwasher. Sarah glanced at the screen. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, dismissing it as spam, but a prickle of unease ran down her spine. She unlocked the phone. He's not who you think he is. Check his emails. Her breath hitched. Who was A? And what did they mean? David. It always came back to David. A wave of nausea washed over her, the remnants of the pot roast dinner churning uncomfortably in her stomach. She told herself it was ridiculous. A prank. Malicious gossip. But the seed of doubt had been planted, a tiny, insidious root burrowing deep. That night, sleep evaded her. David's steady breathing beside her felt like a betrayal. She waited until his breaths deepened, a rhythmic snore punctuating the silence. Carefully, she slipped out of bed. The cool ceramic tile of the bathroom floor sent a shiver through her bare feet. David's phone lay face down on his nightstand. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. Password. She tried their anniversary. Nothing. Their daughter's birthday. Nope. Frustration mounted, mingled with a growing sense of dread. She punched in Maya's birthdate, the year first, then the month and day. It unlocked. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she scrolled through his recent texts. Nothing overtly incriminating. Then she saw it, an email notification from a sender named Chloe Dubois. The subject line was innocuous, project update. With shaking hands, Sarah opened the email app and navigated to his inbox. The Chloe Dubois emails were frequent, filled with project jargon, but interspersed were lines that made her blood run cold. Dinner was divine last night, one read. Can't wait to collaborate again next week. Another, thinking of you. Hope the meeting goes well. Zoxo. She scrolled further back, finding deleted items. She recovered a receipt for an expensive restaurant, dated last Tuesday, the night David had supposedly worked late. And then, a photograph. A blurry image of David, laughing, his arm draped around a woman with fiery red hair. The woman was definitely not her. The air in the bathroom felt thick, suffocating. The world tilted on its axis. It was all there, laid bare in digital form. The lies. The deceit. The casual cruelty. A sob escaped her lips, a strangled sound that echoed in the small space. She sank to the floor, the phone clutched in her hand, the bright screen illuminating her tear-streaked face. The image of David, smiling, oblivious to the destruction he had wrought, burned into her mind. He had shattered everything. The confession. The air in the kitchen hung thick and heavy, saturated with the scent of burnt coffee. Sarah hadn't even tasted it, too preoccupied with the USB drive clutched in her hand. David walked in, his brow furrowed. Morning, you're up early. Something wrong? Is there? Sarah countered, her voice dangerously calm. She plugged the drive into her laptop, the screen reflecting in her wide, accusing eyes. Want to explain this, David? The photos flashed across the screen, David and another woman, laughing, embracing, kissing. The truth, stark and undeniable, bloomed in the space between them. His face paled. Sarah, He stammered, his usual confidence crumbling. Where did you get this? That doesn't matter. What matters is what it is. Is it real? She needed to hear him say it, to confirm the nightmare that had been brewing in her gut for weeks. He looked away, avoiding her gaze. It's not what it looks like. Don't insult my intelligence, David. I see what I see. She pointed to the screen, her finger trembling. This is more than a friendly hug. This is betrayal. He finally met her eyes, his own filled with a desperate plea. Okay, fine. It happened. But it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. It didn't mean anything. A moment of weakness that was captured in multiple photographs. Her voice rose, cracking with suppressed emotion. How long, David? How long has this been going on? He sank into a chair, his shoulders slumping. A few months. Work has been insane, the pressure, the late nights. I was lonely. Lonely? Sarah repeated, incredulous. You have a wife, a daughter who adores you. How could you be lonely? I know. It was stupid, selfish. I regret it, Sarah. I swear I do. He reached for her hand, but she recoiled. Regret? Is that all you have to say? What about Lily? What kind of example are you setting for her? She thinks you're her hero. The thought of Lily shattered her composure. Tears welled in her eyes. How could you do this to her? Don't bring Lily into this, he pleaded, his voice thick with emotion. Please, Sarah. I love you both. I'll do anything to fix this. Therapy, anything. Just, don't take me away from my daughter. A chance for Lily. Lily's laughter, a bright, tinkling melody, pulled Sarah back from the abyss of resentment. She watched her daughter chase butterflies in the garden, her small face lit with pure joy. How could she willingly shatter that world? David's betrayal felt like a physical wound, throbbing with each memory, each shared joke now tainted. But Lily. Lily was innocent. Sarah retreated to the cool sanctuary of her study, the scent of old paper and leather a comforting balm. The laptop screen glowed, a stark white rectangle in the dim room. She typed marriage counseling into the search bar, the words feeling heavy, like an admission of failure. Images of serene therapists and happy couples filled the screen, mocking her cynicism. She clicked on a few profiles, skimming through qualifications and specialties. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Emotionally focused therapy. It all felt like alphabet soup, a desperate attempt to decipher the language of a dying relationship. Later, phone pressed to her ear, Sarah paced her kitchen. He swore it wouldn't happen again, Chloe, she said, her voice tight. But how can I ever trust him? Chloe's voice, calm and steady, flowed through the speaker. Trust takes time, Sarah. But if you both truly want to rebuild, it's possible. Lily deserves a fighting chance, doesn't she? The words echoed Sarah's own internal debate. Lily deserved stability, a home filled with love, not the wreckage of her parents' broken vows. But did David deserve another chance? Could she forgive him, truly forgive him, or would resentment fester, poisoning everything they had built? That night, after Lily was asleep, Sarah found David on the back patio, staring into the darkness. The air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle. He looked small, defeated, the confident facade he usually wore gone. I've been looking at counseling options, she said, her voice barely a whisper. He turned, his eyes filled with a hesitant hope. Really? Sarah nodded, the weight on her chest easing slightly. For Lily. For us. But David, she paused, her gaze unwavering, this is it. One chance. If you hurt us again, I'm done. He stepped closer, reaching for her hand. His touch was tentative, almost apologetic. I know, he said, his voice hoarse. I know. I won't let you down. Sarah wanted to believe him, needed to believe him. For Lily. For a future that wasn't defined by betrayal and heartbreak. But as she looked into his eyes, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on shaky ground, trusting a promise whispered in the dark. Only time would tell if this chance for Lily would also be a chance for them. Rebuilding trust. The sterile scent of lemon cleaner clung to the air in Dr. Albright's office, a smell Sarah had come to associate with rebuilding. Rebuilding trust, rebuilding a marriage, rebuilding a family. David sat beside her, hands clasped tightly in his lap, a nervous habit she'd noticed resurfacing. He'd been consistently attending these sessions for months, a stark contrast to his previous reluctance. David, can you articulate what you've learned about your behavior these past few months? Dr. Albright's voice was gentle but firm. David shifted uncomfortably. I understand that my actions had consequences. Not just for Sarah but for Lily too. I was selfish and I hurt them both deeply. He turned to Sarah, his eyes glistening. I'm truly sorry, Sarah. For everything. His sincerity seemed genuine, a stark contrast to the deflective apologies he'd offered in the immediate aftermath of the affair. He'd started doing small things, acts of service that spoke louder than words. He made her coffee every morning, without being asked. He helped Lily with her homework, patiently explaining concepts she struggled with. He even started cooking dinner a few nights a week, experimenting with recipes he found online. One evening, Lily bounded into the kitchen, her face alight with excitement. Mommy, Daddy made my favorite. Spaghetti and meatballs. She wrapped her small arms around both their legs, squeezing tight. I'm so happy we're all together again. Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. Lily's happiness was paramount, and seeing her so content was a balm to Sarah's wounded heart. She met David's gaze across the room, a tentative smile gracing her lips. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Sarah found David on the back porch, staring up at the stars. The cool night air nipped at her skin. She sat beside him, a comfortable silence settling between them. He reached for her hand, his touch hesitant. Thank you, he said, his voice barely a whisper. For giving me another chance. She squeezed his hand, the warmth of his skin a familiar comfort. It hasn't been easy, she admitted, the raw honesty hanging in the air. But I'm starting to believe, maybe we can make this work. A fragile seed of trust, dormant for so long, began to sprout within her. It was small, vulnerable, but it was there. She hoped it wouldn't be crushed again. Bring your parent to work. The front door slammed open, Lily's backpack whacking against the wall. Mom. Guess what? Her voice, a live wire of exhilaration, bounced off the walls. Sarah, startled in her armchair, marked her page and set the book aside. Experience had taught her that Lily's pronouncements could range from the mundane marvel of a particularly plump grub to the sudden, urgent need for exotic reptiles. Tell me, sweetie. Bring your parent to work day. Lily brandished a flyer, its edges softened from being perpetually crumpled in her fist. We get to see the top secret stuff you guys do all day. A genuine smile bloomed on Sarah's face, chasing away the instinctive worry that prickled at the edges. Just a day. An opportunity to demonstrate her active presence in Lily's life. Lily vibrated with anticipation. Can we visit Dad's office? Please, please, please. The request caused Sarah's smile to hitch. David's domain. A world of slick surfaces, practiced smiles, and a far cry from the cozy haven she'd painstakingly created at home. Yet, Lily's expression shone with such pure, untainted hope. Honey, are you sure? I could give you a tour of the library. We could even sneak into the restricted archives. Lily's lower lip trembled, a clear sign of impending disappointment. But Dad's office is way cooler. He has a view that stretches forever. Plus, he promised snacks. Sarah stifled a sigh. The lure of forbidden goodies was undeniably strong. All right, she conceded, injecting a false enthusiasm into her voice. We'll go to Dad's. A squeal of unadulterated joy erupted as Lily launched herself into Sarah's arms. Thank you. Thank you. Later, lost in a whirlwind of outfit choices for the impending event, Lily's chatter filled the kitchen as Sarah gazed out the window. The indigo sky, swollen with the threat of rain, mirrored the unease churning within her. She prayed this outing wouldn't become another carefully built connection fractured by the weight of unspoken anxieties. The sterile environment of David's workplace still felt alien, vaguely menacing. A part of her yearned for the comforting predictability of their familiar routine, the tranquil rhythm of shared stories and baking adventures. However, Lily deserved this experience. And perhaps, just perhaps, witnessing David in his professional element, surrounded by his colleagues, would finally solidify the long-sought image of him as a transformed man. A man worthy of their fragile family. She closed her eyes, summoning the image of Lily's radiant face, and silently begged she wasn't making a grave error in judgment. A familiar face. Lily, radiating enthusiasm, led Sarah through the gleaming halls of Miller and Zeller, a tech firm that smelled faintly of citrus and ambition. Everyone, this is Sarah, David's wife. A chorus of greetings rippled through the open-plan office. David, perched on the edge of his immaculate desk, grinned, looking every inch the successful entrepreneur. He crossed the room to kiss Sarah, his lips lingering a fraction longer than necessary, a subtle show for his colleagues. One woman, a striking blonde with eyes as sharp as flint, detached herself from a cluster of coworkers. Sarah, so lovely to finally meet you. I'm Jessica, David's right hand. She extended a hand, her grip firm, almost challenging. We practically run this place together. Sarah smiled, a polite, non-committal gesture. Jessica's perfume, an aggressive blend of patchouli and something metallic, clung to the air. There was something possessive in the way she looked at David, a familiarity that prickled Sarah's skin. Lunch was a cacophony of clattering silverware and tech jargon at a nearby bistro. David held court, regaling the group with a story about a recent deal, his laughter echoing off the exposed brick walls. Jessica sat beside him, her arm brushing his as she leaned in to whisper something in his ear. Then it happened. Honey, could you pass the salt? Jessica said, her eyes fixed on David. A beat of silence descended. David's smile faltered, his eyes darting nervously between Sarah and Jessica. Jessica's face flushed crimson. Oh my God, she stammered, I am so sorry, Sarah. It just slipped out. We work so closely together, it's become a habit. The explanation felt thin, brittle. Sarah forced a smile, a fragile mask over the turmoil that threatened to erupt inside. "No worries," she said, her voice betraying none of the icy dread that was now blooming in her chest. But the word hung in the air, a heavy, unspoken accusation. Honey. It was a term of endearment, of intimacy. It was a word that belonged only to Sarah, a word that now felt tainted, soiled. The lunch continued, but the laughter felt hollow, the conversation strained. Sarah picked at her salad, the vibrant greens suddenly tasteless. The seeds of suspicion, carefully buried beneath layers of forgiveness, had begun to sprout again, their thorny tendrils wrapping tightly around her heart. The text messages, the late nights, the unexplained absences, they all came flooding back, amplified by Jessica's slip of the tongue. The unsent text. The silence of the house pressed in on Sarah, amplifying the frantic beat of her heart. She had to know. The gnawing suspicion, a constant companion these past weeks, demanded it. David was working late, again, a plausible excuse that now tasted like ash in her mouth. She started in the attic, methodically sifting through dusty boxes filled with forgotten memories. Old yearbooks, baby clothes, a collection of his childhood baseball cards. Nothing. Next, she tackled the garage, enduring the pungent smell of motor oil and damp cardboard. She rummaged through toolboxes, storage bins, even behind the precarious stack of lumber he swore he'd use for a project soon. Still nothing. Despair threatened to engulf her, but she pushed it back. One last place. The locked drawer in his desk, the one he always claimed held important documents. It was a flimsy lock. A bobby pin liberated from her hair did the trick. Inside, nestled beneath a pile of old bills, was a phone. Small, cheap, and definitely not his. A burner. Her fingers trembled as she switched it on. One unsent text message. The screen glowed, illuminating the words, "I still love you. Meet me tonight." The air in her lungs seemed to vanish. Nausea churned in her stomach. Tonight. Tonight he was supposed to be working late. A cold fury replaced the despair. This couldn't continue. He couldn't continue to lie, to manipulate, to treat her like a fool. With a grim resolve, she copied the message and pasted it into a new text on her own phone. She selected David's contact. Her thumb hovered over the send button. This was it. The point of no return. She pressed send. The reply came almost instantly. Where? Same place. Sarah took a deep breath and dialed his number. He answered on the third ring, his voice carefully neutral. "Hey, honey. Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect, David," she said, her voice dangerously calm. "Tell me, are you working late tonight?" "Yeah, big deadline. Won't be home until late." "That's funny," she said, her voice hardening. "Because I just got a text from you. It says, 'I still love you. Meet me tonight.'" "Where?" "Same place." "Care to explain, David?" There was a long, pregnant silence on the other end. Then, a choked sound, like a drowning man gasping for air. "Sarah. Don't bother," she said, the words clipped and sharp. "Just come home, David. We need to talk." She ended the call, the dial tone a harsh, insistent hum in the sudden, suffocating silence. Choosing Lily's future. The weight of Sarah's pronouncement crushed David. He crumpled inward, landing hard on the Persian rug, a costly attempt, he now saw with bitter clarity, to impress people whose approval meant nothing. "Please, Sarah," he croaked, his voice fracturing. "I beg you, don't." It was a lapse, a horrible, stupid mistake. He reached for her, his hand trembling like a leaf in a storm. She flinched, retreating as if he were radiating heat. "Don't," she uttered, the single word a polished blade. Weariness, bone-deep and profound, lined each syllable. Enfolding herself, she seemed to ward off not only his anguish but her own. His cologne, once a source of comfort, now choked her, a sharp reminder of his transgression. Red streaks webbed his eyes as he pleaded. Anything. I'll do therapy, forfeit my career, relocate. Just. Please don't take Lily. Lily. There, exposed, was the heart of the matter. Briefly, she closed her eyes, summoning the image of her daughter's beaming face, the endearing way she'd cock her head when absorbed in a task, the trust held in her small hand. Lily deserved more than this fractured existence, more than a mother constantly second-guessing and plagued by doubt. Her eyes snapped open, resolve hardening like steel. This isn't just about us, David. It's about her. I refuse to raise Lily amidst this chaos, to demonstrate that a woman's worth is contingent upon enduring disrespect. She drifted to the window, gazing at the flawlessly groomed lawn, a deceptive veneer masking their decaying marriage. We both deserve better, Lily most of all. Silence descended, punctuated only by the rasp of David's breath. Finally, a mere exhalation of sound, he asked, "What are you saying?" She faced him, her gaze unwavering. "I'm initiating separation. I've consulted counsel." The words, bitter to taste, felt like hard currency rejected. She watched the last glimmers of hope extinguish in his eyes, leaving behind only a desolate emptiness. Her tone softening, she continued, "We can navigate the specifics, custody, assets with civility, for Lily's sake. But this is finished." The phantom taste of tears burned at the back of her throat. It was the pallid start to a new chapter, one she would have to construct, carefully and painfully, for herself and her daughter.